What's up guys, Saf here on SuperSaf TV, and it's here in the studio, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. One of the first videos with this in the world, so a thumbs up for your boy would be appreciated. Now I know guys, I know it looks a lot like the S22 Ultra. We'll do a side-by-side comparison later on in the video, so stay tuned for that. Let's initially get it out of the box. So a slightly different design for the box. We do have a picture of the S23 Ultra rather than the traditional S. And this box has been made with 100% recycled materials, which is great. Now we are immediately presented with what seemed like a black version of the S23 Ultra, but this is just a back cover, which is made out of paper. And then we are presented with the S23 Ultra. We're going to put that to the side for a second while we see what else we get inside the box. And inside the top portion of the box, we do have a pack which includes the SIM card tool, some paperwork, as well as a USB Type-C to USB Type-C cable. And no, we do not get a charger included out of the box. I have to keep saying this because people still ask, why is there no charger? There hasn't been a charger for the past few years, people. Now let's get to the device. So we do have a paper screen protector, which we'll remove. Always so satisfying. And here it is, the S23 Ultra in all of its glory. Now this is the cream version. It's also available in a phantom black, a green, as well as a lavender. Although there are some exclusive colors that you can get directly from Samsung.com. There's a graphite, a sky blue, a lime, as well as a red. Now if you are thinking of buying the S23 Ultra, let me just tell you that you can get up to $150 of exclusive instant Samsung credit using my special affiliate link down in the description below. And you'll also be able to get double the storage, 512 gigabytes for the price of 256 gigabytes. So once again, don't forget that link. Anyway, back to the S23 Ultra. Now, you can tell straight away that this is a very incremental update in terms of the design at least. Now if I do bring it in the S22 Ultra for a side-by-side comparison, you can see that things are very familiar. The S23 Ultra is just a few grams heavier, and we have the same triple ring design. The two differences that we do have are firstly, the edges are now less curved compared to the S22 Ultra, which gives you more of a flat surface area and even more of a boxy look, which I do like. And also the camera rings are now larger because of the new cameras, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So if you have a Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra case and you were wondering if it's going to fit the S23 Ultra, then no, unfortunately, it's not going to fit. Right, now this is still IP68 water and dust resistant. We have armor aluminium for the frame, and we have Gorilla Glass Victus 2 for the front and back. Now this is one of the first devices with Gorilla Glass Victus 2, which improves drop performance on rough surfaces like concrete. I'm not going to drop this to find out, but I'm sure others will do. And we've also got 22% recycled glass, which is great. And we've got double the recycled components compared to what we had last year. So there's 12 recycled components instead of 6. Now let's turn this around and take a look at the display. Once again, the display is very familiar. We've got the Infinity O cutout, which allows me to get very creative with wallpapers. And this is a beautiful display, dynamic AMOLED 2X technology for great colors. You do have Quad HD Plus resolution, which makes things very sharp. An adaptive refresh rate with 120 Hz, making things very smooth. And this is using LTPO 3.0 technology, and it can go all the way down to just 1 Hz, making things very efficient. Now, the peak brightness is still the same as last year, so it is 1750 nits, which is very bright, not as bright as the iPhone 14 Pro Max. But Samsung is now using advanced vision booster technology, which adapts the display based on the lighting around it, and it's supposed to do this very efficiently. Now we still have the ultrasonic in-display fingerprint scanner. This is the 3D sonic sensor from Qualcomm, and it is my favorite fingerprint scanner. It's the same as what we've got on the S22 Ultra, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because it works really well. Right, we have to now talk about the cameras. So what's new? Well, the front-facing camera is completely new. It's a new 12 megapixel sensor with dual pixel autofocus. Now, this is going to allow you to focus in closer for your selfies. It's something that the S22 Ultra didn't have. But I know you guys really want to talk about the rear-facing cameras. So as before, we do have a quad rear-facing camera setup. There's an ultra-wide camera, which is 12 megapixels. This has autofocus, which means you can go in closer for macro shots with this too. There are two 10 megapixel telephoto cameras. One is at 3 times and the other is at 10 times. You can extend that up to 100 times for space zoom, and if you really like to take pictures of the moon. Now, as far as I can see, these three cameras are pretty much the same as what we had last year. However, we do have a new ISP image signal processor with the new chipset, which we'll be talking about a little bit later. The biggest hardware improvement for the cameras is the new 200 megapixel primary camera. Now, this is going to allow you to capture lots and lots of detail, and in low light it'll allow you to combine 16 pixels into one for improved low light performance, and in good light you can combine 4 pixels into one to get high resolution 50 megapixel images. There's also improved OIS, so it's 2 times wider optical image stabilization. Now we have expert RAW up to 50 megapixels, allowing you lots of control, and astrophotography as well if you want to go out in the middle of nowhere with a tripod, which I'm probably not going to be doing. What I will be doing, however, of course, is the SuperSaf style camera comparison of this versus the iPhone 14 Pro Max. If you want to see that, make sure you smash that like button and also subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're the first to see it. I'm going to get working on it straight away. We've also got some big improvements for video. Firstly, 8K 30 frames a second. Traditionally, Samsung devices have only been able to shoot at 8K 24 frames a second. 24 frames a second is my preferred frame rate to shoot at. However, this was not consistent with the frame rates of the other cameras. Now you've got 8K at 30 frames a second, and also it's not going to crop in as much. Samsung devices traditionally crop in quite heavily on 8K, but now it's not going to do that. You've now got portrait video in 4K. Before it was just at 1080p, and you've also got super steady at Quad HD resolution. Before it was at 1080p, and it really hadn't changed for quite a few years. I mean, I was complaining about that. I'm sure Samsung watched my video and bought this improvement. It's either that, maybe not, but Apple did introduce high resolution for their portrait video, which is cinematic video, and their action mode, which is the equivalent of super steady. So it looks like Samsung is trying to match that. There's also super HDR video, 4K 60 frames a second. Again, I'm going to be testing all of these things out. Now, some of these improvements, as mentioned, come thanks to the new image signal processor, which is part of the new chipset, and that is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy. Now, both Samsung and Qualcomm have said that this is the most powerful Snapdragon on any device right now, and this is because it's got a high clock speed compared to the regular Gen 2. And in terms of improvements over last year, you're looking at around 34% faster CPU performance and up to 41% faster GPU performance. Now, that obviously means this is going to be one of the fastest devices out there. But what's more important is the fact that this is the chipset that's going to be on across the board. So whether you're in Europe or the US, you're still going to get that same 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy chipset. Traditionally, Samsung devices have an Exynos chipset in Europe, and they have the Snapdragon chipset in the US. And there's been years of endless debate on which one is better at what. And for me, mainly, it's just been a case of inconsistency. If you're in a different region, you're going to be having a slightly different experience, which isn't the best. However, now 8 Gen 2 across the board. Love it. Now, the speed and performance is also going to be helped by the RAM and storage. So we do have LPDDR5 plus RAM, 8 gigabytes as a base, which is going to come with the 256 GB version, but you do get 12 gigabytes with the 512 or 1 terabyte version. Now, this is also LTPO 4.0 storage. So again, it's very, very fast storage. And I still have to say this because so many people still comment about this. No, there is no expandable storage. There hasn't been for quite some time. Now, we've also got a large vapor chamber. When Zach opens this up, we'll find out exactly how big. Now, let's take a quick look around the device. So on the top, we just have a mic. On the left-hand side, we have the volume rocker as well as the power button. Nothing on the right-hand side. At the bottom, we have a SIM card tray. There's a USB Type-C port. There's one bottom firing speaker, and this pairs up with the speaker in the earpiece, giving you stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos. And then, of course, we have this little thing. This is the S Pen. Now, the S Pen hasn't actually changed compared to what it was last year, so it is practically the same S Pen. Shall I try to put in the S22 Ultra S Pen into here? It might break, but let's try it.
A few moments later.
All right, here goes nothing. This is the S22 Ultra S Pen. And yeah, it fits. It's exactly the same. So yeah, the S Pen, 2.8 milliseconds of latency, which is still really good. And you can still use it remotely, so you can use it as a trigger for your camera. And you've also got handwriting recognition, which is going to work across many more Google apps now. Right now for the battery, we do have the same size battery as the S22 Ultra, 5000 milliamps, which is still a big battery. And with the new chipset, it should make it more efficient, giving you better battery life. Of course, I'll be testing that out and giving you my true experience in the full review. And charging hasn't changed, so you do have support of up to 45 watts. Again, you're gonna have to buy that charger separately. And we do have wireless charging, so it's up to 15 watts. And you can also charge other devices on the back of this with reverse wireless charging, which Samsung calls PowerShare. Right now for the software, this does come out of the box with Android 13 with Samsung's One UI 5.1. Samsung has promised 4 generations of Android OS updates and 5 years of security updates, which is some of the best out there. Finally, pricing. So this does start at the same price as the S22 Ultra did last year in the US. So that's $1,200, and for that price you're going to be getting double the storage, 256 gigabytes. However, if you use my affiliate link down in the description below, you'll actually get 512 gigabytes for that price of $1,200. Plus, you can also exclusively get up to $150 of instant Samsung credit. Now, these offers are not going to last too long, so if you are thinking about it, do act on that soon. There's also some good trading deals, although they are not as good as last year. If you are in the UK, however, the price has increased, so it starts at £1,250, but that is for the 256 gigabyte version. So if you compare it to the S22 Ultra 256 gigabytes that we had last year, then that is the same price. Plus, you still do get the offer of 512 gigabytes for the price of 256. And that is the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. What are my first impressions? Well, of course, this is an incremental update, but I'm really excited about the new chipset and the new cameras. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be asking me, is it worth upgrading from the S22 Ultra to this? Now, my first impressions are, no, the S22 Ultra is still a great device and you can hold on to it for at least another year, maybe a few more. But if you are coming from maybe an S21 Ultra and you're thinking of upgrading, or maybe even the Note 20 Ultra, then I think this will be a good upgrade. Now that's just my first impressions. If you do want me to do a detailed comparison of this versus the S22 Ultra to look at all of the differences, SuperSaf style, definitely let me know down in the comments below. And also if you want me to compare this to, say, the S21 Ultra. What do you guys think of the S23 Ultra? Definitely let me know also. I'm gonna leave some related videos linked here and here. Don't forget there's lots more coverage coming up on here, SuperSaf style, so do subscribe and hit that bell icon. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, please smash that like button for me. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV. I'll see you next time.